Yeah, good evening. This is Al Alvarez, and this evening we're going to take you behind the scenes. We are at February 27th, 2014, and I've got a very special guest this evening. Right here at Behind the Scenes, we're going to join you every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. And we really enjoy that you're joining us this evening. We're going to talk about independent film, music, and the arts in general. I'd like to introduce you to our very special guest this evening. Please welcome Mr. Sean Collins. Sean?
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Sean, as you know, and I'd like to start the show off with a very serious topic, and that has to do with the tax incentives here in the state of Florida that help the independent artists, and they also help to lure the big studios to shoot their films or their projects in the state of Florida. As you know, we've had some pretty big projects recently. They just, they're, I believe, still working or have wrapped Dolphin Tale 2. Yes. They shot Magic Mike, a lot of it here in Florida, Spring Break. I mean, the list goes on. And there are some big studios looking at Tampa for other motion pictures with some big names like Ben Affleck and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and again, the list goes on. I'd like to just give you some quick facts. I actually got this from the Tampa Bay Tribune, and this was written by Paul Guzzo, and I'm going to take some excerpts from it. First of all, as far as the state incentives are concerned, if let's say there's an independent company that has a $100,000 budget. There are different types of qualifications. If you qualify for 20, 25, 30%, then at the end of your project, once you turn in all the associated paperwork, you'll get a tax voucher that's transferable for, say, if you qualify for 25%, you'll get a tax voucher for $25,000, which is not bad. Now, if you live here in Florida and you have a business, you can use that as a write-up to your business. But if you don't, you can take it to a big dealership, you can take it to a big company, and they can give you, 90% on the $25,000. They can give you 80, 70, whatever you negotiate. So that's real important. Now, the state in 2012, the state allocated $296 million in film tax incentives. That was for 2012 to 2016. All the money was gone within the first 4-year cycle. The Infiltrator was slated to begin production in March, but it's on hold because of the tax incentives. So these are some issues that everyone, filmmakers and fans of independent films as well, should be aware of. So when you vote, please keep the House Bill 983 in mind. It's sponsored by Republican Hialeah Republican Manny Diaz Jr. Proposes the full $200 million per year. So those are some of the stats that we're bringing to you tonight. Again, thank you, Paul Guzzo from the Tampa Bay Tribune. And please keep getting us the information, and we really do appreciate it. And that's just some fantastic stuff. Now, let's get into our conversation with Mr. Collins. Sean, now, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, where you're from, and...
Could we just say something on my opinion on...
Absolutely.
I read the thing there.
Please do.
I've worked in 7 or 8 states that had tax incentives, whether
Right.
it be Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, back here to Florida and stuff. The Florida plan is flawed because, evidently, 2 or 3 different projects ate up all the money in that time. And what's going on now in Tallahassee, I see there's a difference between the Senate and the congressmen in Congress. And there's a difference of $200 million or something like that. And they're just going to be hemming and hawing back and forth. I come from the Northeast. I grew up around the Kennedys in real professional politics.
Sure.
And the only thing that matters to a politician is him getting reelected and, on a negative side, of filling up his pockets. And what we've had this discussion before, that I feel that we need to get about 100,000 registered voters here in the state of Florida that are involved in the film industry or want to, their families, because when a movie comes to town, it creates an abundance of work for carpenters, caterers, lawn. I mean, because I've worked on many major projects.
Sure.
And there's 1,000 people working around the project that don't have anything to do with who's shooting, who's the actor, who's the director, and everything else like that.
You've got the restaurants, the hotels.
Yes, yeah.
The rental cars.
Yeah.
It's a trickle-down
It
effect.
creates a new, viable industry. And this is what needs to be done here in Florida.
Sure.
And in my opinion, the only thing that's going to be done here until we, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Orlando, Sarasota County, Miami-Dade, Broward, everybody come together instead of trying to get on nickel and dimes, all these film commissions trying to get some work. We need to come together. We need to merge. Everyone, I've seen several different online petitions of people's signatures. Believe me, they have the rally and tally coming. Yep. If we was to go up there, there's 3 buses going there. Say there's going to be 120 people.
And let me interrupt you just a second. That happened on the 25th and 26th. So we're one day late on that, but I know that there are a lot of folks just from Florida that went up there.
Yeah.
And they had, they organized, and we had representatives from all over the state because, I mean,
they're not going up to March. It's March.
I'm sorry. My mistake. I thought it was in February.
But if you walk through the doors of Tallahassee with 100,000 signatures of registered voters, you will get their attention a lot more so than them just blowing smoke up our rear ends about telling us what we want to hear for that day. Because the only thing that matters to them is those signatures, registered voters, where everyone in the state comes together and becomes one viable film industry here in Florida, and we'll succeed because the power is in the people.
That's right.
And this has never happened in Florida. That's why there's always been a disconnect with, Miami-Dade and everything else like that. And everybody has to merge. We don't need 15, 20 different, SAG has to work with independent people. Everyone has to work together. I've seen it happen in Massachusetts,
states,
where I'm from. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have gone back there, and they're doing films after films after film, and they're getting the tax incentives on the rear. People don't realize the tax incentives, it's like monopoly money, because no one is actually given in until the project is done, and then they're given a voucher. And they take that voucher and sell it to a viable film Florida corporation.
Right, it's transferable.
It's transferable.
Yep.
And the one last thing, those statistics I've heard, for every dollar here in Florida, the return is $5.
Right.
And
it's phenomenal. I can tell you that for the Dolphin Tail, and I don't want to call it Dolphin Tail 1 because it's actually Dolphin Tail, but Dolphin Tail generated over $8 billion to the local economy.
Sure.
That's phenomenal. Those are phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
So, you can do your research. You can go online, just put in Florida tax incentives, film tax incentives, and read for yourself. It's all there in black and white. And if you want to go ahead and get a hold of your state legislators, www.leg.state.florida.us. Okay? So, again, Sean, tell us a little bit about your background.
My background.
Yeah. Now, you just said that you're from the Northeast.
I'm from the Northeast.
Right.
I was born in Providence, Rhode Island. Spent a lot of time in Boston. Spent a lot of time in New York. But I worked for 2 jobs for 20-something years. And I was fortunate to work for the city of Providence. So when, like The Way We Were, that was my first film with Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. And I formed a relationship with Robert Redford. He let me work as an
a beautiful film.
in most of his films. Yeah. The Great Gatsby. They used to use Newport, Rhode Island, with the mansions and stuff like that. And the city allowed me to take a day off here and there and go get my nose into the thing. But in 1979, I met a woman at a wedding. And this is for everyone in the business, that you never know where it's coming from. I met a woman at a wedding, and she walked up to me and she said, "Do you ever think about being a model or an actor?" I said, "Are you crazy? I'm humping 3 jobs now." And 3 weeks later, I found myself in New York City shooting a national commercial for Lifebuoy soap as a baseball player.
What happened to Lifebuoy? I think it went out.
It
went out with Falstaff and Schlitz.
It's going somewhere because I've even attempted to get a copy of my thing there. It's in the abyss of somewhere.
That was before YouTube, so way before YouTube.
Way before, 1979, 1980. And I continued on working Then I moved to Florida in 1988, but doing little projects here, there, and everything. But in 2005, actually, the state of Rhode Island, my old hometown, my old neighborhood, started shooting films. Tax incentives were through the roof. Same with Massachusetts. So my friends called me and said, "You got to come up there and get involved in stuff." So the first project that was called Waterfront, it was a CBS series. I found myself getting pulled out of the crowd into a reoccurring role immediately.
Wow.
Earned my SAG card, and unfortunately, it only lasted 6 episodes and stuff like that. But the next week, I was up in Massachusetts shooting The Game Plan with The Rock.
Right.
You know, as a football coach.
And then he was The Rock.
You know what was so funny? The man was so much smaller.
Yeah.
Because he had a torn Achilles tendon throughout the whole Game Plan thing. It was a football movie, but he had an extra.
Yeah.
A stuntman
But
doing.
didn't that happen with, he was playing professional football?
Well,
down in Florida.
that's going way back. He played at the University of Miami, and
Yeah.
then he tryouts and stuff like that. I don't know how extensive, but that was 2005, 2006.
Right.
So he was already an adult. But I was truly amazed at how small the man had gotten as compared to what he is today.
Sure.
Because now he's a big rock hard. And that's questionable how you get there. How
Yeah.
you get that big and small, up and down, and everything else like that.
Well, it worked for him.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it certainly has.
So now you've appeared in a lot of different types of roles.
Yes.
You have a certain look about you.
Yeah.
A very good look. That's
Yeah.
you've got a very authoritative look.
Yes.
So I would imagine, tell us about some of the roles that you've been called in for because you kind of have this special kind of vibe about you.
Yeah. The vibe is all about growing up on the streets of Boston and New York and stuff like that.
Streetwise.
Being comfortable, yes, being streetwise,
Sure.
being comfortable in my own skin. But like the Showtime Brotherhood series, it's an Irish, 2 brothers, like Woody Bulger and his thing was based on that thing. But it was shot in my old neighborhood of Providence, the Irish section. Yet they cast me as the Italian gangster.
Oh, is that right?
In the thing.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Because you knew the lifestyle.
I knew the lifestyle,
Sure.
and I talk with my hands. I still talk with my hands. The thing was, the first 15 years of my life, I grew up on the Irish side of town in Smith Hill. And the second 15 years was on Federer Hill, which was Little Italy of Providence, Rhode Island. So I had a good sense of both sides of the street and everything else like that. But as you say, I've always been cast as bad cop, bad businessman. The 2
Politician, right?
Yeah, politician.
Sure.
Yeah, as Senator Nathan Hale in some of the projects. I've done 2 projects. Senator Nathan Hale, a very very dirty kind of guy.
Yeah.
Which
Another crooked politician.
yeah, another crooked politician. Yeah, it was easy, to get the visualization of it all.
Yeah.
But I spent 18 months out in L.A. in 2008 and 2009. I had 21 auditions. I got 18 roles.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
I know my niche.
Sure.
And the agent that I had would only send me out there for that niche. And I was in Heroes, Knight Rider, Sons of Anarchy, a couple of episodes. That was playing a porn king, or the guy that brought porn to the town of Sons of Anarchy, and had a good scene with Ron Perlman, the motorcycle gang. And I got to tell him, F you. And I lived. I still lived through the end of it anyway.
Well, that's one of my favorite series anyway. I mean, I know the characters and everything, so yeah, absolutely.
I was in the second season, then they called me back for the last season, where Ron Perlman was going through some dreams of what was negative and over the series and everything like that, and they plopped my face back up on there saying, F you. I guess that was a bad memory for him. But,
one of his bad memories, one of his nightmares. Huh?
One of his nightmares, yeah.
Well, I tell you, I know that you told me one time that you had actually had the opportunity to meet JFK.
I met JFK November 7th, 1960, at Providence City Hall. Shook the man's hand. I was one of the problem kids up on the stage. But I grew up right next to St. Patrick's, Irish Catholic, and he only lived 14 miles away. It was the night before he was elected President of the United States. At Providence City Hall, he walked up to me, and I said, "You're my hero." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because of PT 109.
Oh.
I had read that book and stuff like that. And because I had a basic on that. When I was 8 years old, I seen 2 young boys drowned.
Wow. That
and
is
to me,
trauma.
what he did during World War II, to carry his Navy buddies on his back and swim all over that channel and finally save everyone. I mean, he suffered for the rest of his life. Shark infested.
That's right.
And he suffered for the rest of his life with the broken back and all these other issues. But what he said to me that day still rings in my head. I can still hear his words that you can become anything you'd like in this country. Look at me. I'm on the verge. He said, just follow your dreams.
Wasn't he nominated the next day? Or
He was elected president of the United States the next day on my birthday, November 8th.
That's phenomenal.
So there was there was the magic of that. He was elected on my, he's the Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
I meet the guy, and it's always been in my head. And it's been one of the driving forces in my life. Follow my dreams. Follow your dreams.
And it's so true. It's so true in every walk of life.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you were a problem kid, or you had been in trouble. I know that you also have mentored some young people who may not have had the opportunities that others had, or made the wrong choices and had kind of gone the wrong direction. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of what you do?
When I was 5 years old, my mother and father divorced, and I was dropped off on a curb in front of my grandmother's house. I have a video type.
At 5 years old?
5 years old, with a brown paper bag. So, that's neither here nor there because my life. But so many people took an interest in me and guided me in the right path. Like Bill Russell, Red Auerbach. I grew up in an environment with a lot of famous people. But people seen something good in me and wanted me, to do
go
better.
in the right direction.
Go in the right direction. And some of those people are some of the most notorious gangsters of the 1960s and 70s.
They were in the same area.
They were in the same area. My sister married someone up on the Italian side of town, and I was plopped into it. And I always seen the good side of them,
Right. Yeah.
You see all these mobster movies and everything, they're all ruthless and all this other stuff. Well, there was a man named Raymond Petriacca, who was the most notorious gangster in New England history. He's like a grandfather to me. Because we had a conversation about the Kennedys, how he loved heavy Irishmen, but the Kennedys, because there was an issue between Joseph Kennedy and him over the bootlegging days. I mean, they went back 40 years or stuff like that.
That was a while.
But here it is. Here's the man that's notorious and brutal. He's like a grandfather to me, and he's telling me, stay away, stay away, stay away, do the right thing, go to school, all the stuff like that. And that's part of the script that I'm writing about, everyone has a good side. And I've been fortunate enough for people to take an interest in me and guide me in the right direction.
So it's going to reflect on your upbringing and how different influences brought you to who you are today.
Yeah. And what I've done is, I've been a mentor at least 8 different times to problem children for the Eckerd Corporation. I would go into schools, sit in the class once a week with an individual child. He was assigned to me. Take him out, he'd be part of my family. And I did that with 8 different children. But it was my way of giving back. Because the count is 18 or 19 people in my life did the right thing for me or guided me. I just wanted to make a difference. I was raised on come into this world and just leave it a little bit better.
And you have. Yeah. Now, speaking of family, I know you're a family man.
Yeah.
Now, you'd never know it that you're a grandfather.
Oh, I was a grandfather many years ago. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so, I mean, do you have a large family? You have a couple kids?
I have 5 children, 3 of my own, 2 stepchildren, but we raised all 5 of them together.
I grew up in a household like that,
and that's when we moved to Florida in 1989. And I presently have 8 grandchildren. One of them is my little preemie granddaughter that was born 2 months ago. She's up to 5 pounds now. Destiny is her name. She's the apple of my eye. When I go in and see her, it's magical.
Oh, bet.
Yeah. And I have 5 grandsons that are all hyper like I was. I think I passed that on to them and the rest of the group.
I was the same way. It was like a little tornado bouncing off the walls,
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but never living with either parent after the age of 5, something clicked in me and said, because I can tell you, it's the greatest accomplishment I've had in my life is to be a parent. Coming from where I came from, my wife came from a very difficult background too. But what we put together, a strong foundation for our children. No alcohol, no drugs. We sat down every night and we had dinner. We might have had fights like hell at that table, but it was a structure there.
Sure. Absolutely. And and that's where a lot of kids today will learn their family values, because you do sit down to dinner together, and a lot of families aren't like that anymore. And it's unfortunate that and there are a lot of stories, a lot of televised stories about broken homes, broken families, kids in the streets, and we look at it as entertainment, but we forget to remember that there's some real problems out there, and there are kids facing adversity. So so I really take my hat off to you for that. Now, let me ask you, have you ever worked in other aspects of the film industry besides acting, or?
I've done a few stunts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I stay within my niche. I know what my niche is, and
So what's next for you?
What's next for me? I'm attached to. Well, I have a good friend, Ernie LaJoy, and Ernie has written several novels, and he's working on several major films, and hopefully that's going to play itself out in the next few months, this summer and stuff like that. I'm also attached with Renell Golden.
Sure.
In a film called Rico.
I actually had a chance to work my first independent film with Renell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great experience. She's great to work with.
Yeah, she is. She's working with me on my script presently, along with a producer from Jacksonville, and I have a director that I'm working with out in L.A. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a made-for cable TV.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we're running short on time, so why don't we show that montage video? We have Chris Wiles out in our production booth. He's our production technician, and he just gave me a thumbs up. So we're going to take a look at some of Sean's work, and I think you'll really be impressed. I'm always impressed when I get together with Sean. We've really never had a chance to sit down and talk like this, so it's a pleasure.
It's been very enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and do we have a countdown on that? 3, 2, 1. Here we go, and behind the scenes.
Valentina, you piece of shit! Where are you? Stupid mother.
You have 1 minute to make your decision, Senator.
You know who I am. I'm a United States Senator. There's no possible way that you can blackmail me.
You know, hanging around with me isn't that. It isn't that bad.
Okay, I'm done.
Little girl, you were something else.
You're not hitting on me, are you?
Would it help if I was?
It was gonna happen like that. No, I'm not making excuses. Yeah, fine. Whatever. Ah! It is a fact. You can bet your last bottom dollar. You will lose, Don Del Seguin.
You don't have fight nights like that in the can. Comfortable drink in one hand, cancer stick in the other. Nice comfortable place to sit. You can't fucking beat that. I remember back in '91. We had a full-blown fucking riot inside there. I'll never forget it. It was the Mercer Morrison fight. It was 100 degrees in the frickin' place, and they had one lousy fucking fan to try to cool off 500 guys. We couldn't breathe. It was stifling, and it was a cheap fight on top of it. Mercer whacks out Morrison early in the fight, and before Morrison hits the canvas, he whacks him in the back of the head twice. So 2 seconds later, the blacks are on one side, the whites are on the other, and here we go. What a fucking bloodbath it turned into.
All right, Sean Collins. Oh, those are fantastic. It really some intense scenes, really some great acting. I'll bet you had, I mean, just preparing yourself for some of these scenes.
I know that one there. I remember that. I'm not a big sleeper, but I slept 18 hours the next night over that.
Yeah, it really took a lot out of you.
It takes a lot of building up to that, and then all of a sudden, bloop,
Yep.
it comes down. And I've never slept 18 hours in my life. That's a damn.
Yeah.
But
Okay, well, I tell you what, Sean, again, it's been a pleasure. We're running short on time. This is Behind the Scenes every Thursday at 7 p.m. We hope that you've learned something tonight, as I have. Please keep in mind that TalkWadStudios.com is looking for show hosts. So if you have an inclination, if you have a special project that you want to pursue, please just give them a call, go online, find out all about them. I'd like to say hello and also promote our friends at the Tampa Picture Show. They're great to all the community artists here in town, and we'd like to support them as well. The Sunscreen Film Society. I am the Executive Vice President of the Board of Directors, and if you are looking to network with other folks in the area, it's a good place to go to shake some hands, distribute cards, headshots, whatever, and learn something about making film. There's also the Florida Film Network. They're a fantastic organization as well, and they meet over at Indie Studios. There's a Florida Film Expo coming up. That One-Two Punch production is kicking off. I went last year, and I'll tell you, I made some great contacts, and I got to meet some fantastic people, sit in some of the seminars, and they're very educational. So just go online, find out what's going on in your community in the Tampa Bay area, and I think you'd be very impressed and enjoy it, right?
yes,
Yeah.
enjoy it.
And it's not only the folks in the independent film or the film industry. If you're a fan of independent film, please come join us as well. Okay. This is Al Alvarez along with Sean Collins.
Thank you very much,
And
Al, for
we've had
having
a
me.
lot of fun and enjoyed the show tonight. Behind the Scenes right here Thursday at 7 p.m. And we hope to see you back. Have a good evening.
Good night.